Predictions about the future, whether from scientists, leaders, or ancient prophecies, continue to haunt our minds. These forecasts, some rooted in science, others in deep fears, capture our imaginations and stir anxiety about what's to come. Nostradamus is perhaps the most well-known figure in the world of predictions. With his eerie foresights about wars, natural disasters, and political upheavals, his writings continue to be analyzed and reinterpreted, as many believe he glimpsed an unsettling future. Other predictions, like the infamous Mayan calendar prophecy of 2012, created global panic. While the end of the world didn't occur, it made us question, are there truly warnings from the past about looming events? But are these predictions merely an exaggeration of our imaginations? Or is there a grain of truth in them? To dive deeper into this topic, make sure to like and subscribe for the next part. Prophecies have fascinated humans for centuries, with predictions ranging from the cryptic writings of Nostradamus to apocalyptic visions found in ancient texts. But what's the scientific basis behind these predictions? Are they grounded in reality, or simply a result of psychological and cognitive biases? To understand this, we must explore both psychological factors and scientific theories that may explain why prophecies appear to come true. Psychological factors in prophecy interpretation. Humans are wired to seek patterns. This tendency, known as apophenia, leads us to find connections, even when none exist. Prophecies often contain vague or ambiguous language, which allows for multiple interpretations. For example, Nostradamus quatrains can be read in various ways. And after events occur, people tend to reinterpret them as fulfilling the prophecy. This is also influenced by confirmation bias, where people selectively seek out information that supports their beliefs and ignore evidence to the contrary. When a prophecy seems to align with future events, believers may take it as proof of its accuracy, despite the lack of concrete evidence. Cognitive biases and prophecy belief. Several cognitive biases contribute to the belief in prophecies. The availability heuristic causes people to overestimate the likelihood of an event because it's easy to recall examples. When a prophecy is widely discussed, it becomes ingrained in public consciousness, and people are more likely to believe in its truth. Hindsight bias also plays a role, as people tend to view events as predictable after they've occurred. This reinforces the idea that prophecies were accurate all along, even though they may have been vague or open to interpretation. Scientific explanations for prophecies. Though much of prophecy can be explained through psychology, there are also scientific concepts that might shed light on how predictions can appear accurate. One is predictive modeling, where patterns in historical data are used to forecast future events. While not as dramatic as prophecies, predictive models are widely used in fields like meteorology and economics. These models rely on probabilities, suggesting that some seemingly prophetic predictions could simply be based on statistical trends that align with real-world events. Another relevant theory is chaos theory, which suggests that small changes in complex systems can lead to significant outcomes. This concept, known as the butterfly effect, could explain how prophecies might predict events that, upon closer examination, fit into larger, interconnected patterns. These predictions may seem unrelated or improbable at first but could emerge through the unpredictable nature of complex systems. Quantum mechanics and consciousness. Some scientists speculate that quantum mechanics may offer an explanation for phenomena like prophecy. Quantum mechanics deals with particles at the smallest scales, where uncertainty and unpredictability are intrinsic. Some theories suggest that consciousness might interact with quantum processes, potentially allowing individuals to perceive future events. This idea, known as quantum consciousness, is still speculative but offers an intriguing possibility that human minds could tap into deeper, unseen patterns of reality. Though this theory remains unproven, it opens the door to new possibilities for understanding the connection between consciousness and the future. As research into quantum mechanics and the brain continues, we may uncover more insights into the nature of prophecy. Conclusion: the mystery of prophecy. While many prophecies can be explained by psychological factors like pattern recognition, cognitive biases, and selective interpretation, there are also scientific theories that attempt to explain why certain predictions seem to come true. Predictive models, chaos theory, and even quantum mechanics may offer insights into the mysterious nature of prophecy. However, whether these scientific concepts can fully explain the accuracy of prophecies remains uncertain. The fascination with prophecy, whether based on ancient predictions or modern data analytics, shows our ongoing desire to understand and predict the future. While much of what we perceive as prophecy can be explained through biases and psychological tendencies, the mystery of why some predictions appear to come true remains an enduring topic of interest and exploration. As we explore the mysteries of prophecy and the science behind it, one key question arises: are we truly ready for the future? The idea of the future being predictable or predetermined, whether through prophetic insights or scientific models, often leads us to reflect on our own preparedness for what lies ahead. Throughout history, humanity has strived to understand and control the future. From ancient prophecies to modern-day predictive technologies, we have sought ways to predict the course of events, both individually and collectively. But despite our efforts, the future often remains an enigma. As we delve deeper into the world of prophecies and predictions, it becomes clear that there are two primary ways we approach the future: with a sense of certainty or with a recognition of uncertainty. The desire for certainty. One of the most powerful human desires is the need for certainty. We want to know that the choices we make today will lead to a secure and predictable tomorrow. Prophecies, whether from religious texts, seers, or modern-day trend forecasters, offer us a glimpse of what could lie ahead. For many, these predictions provide comfort, an illusion of control in a chaotic world. If we can predict the future, we might feel empowered to shape it in our favor. This desire for certainty is evident in the growing reliance on data-driven forecasting. In an age where big data and artificial intelligence can predict everything from consumer behavior to political outcomes, it's tempting to believe that the future is becoming increasingly predictable. But even with all our tools and technology, the future remains elusive. Despite our best efforts, we cannot account for every variable or anticipate the unexpected. Whether it's a global pandemic, an economic crisis, or a sudden technological breakthrough. As a result, we are often left with a sense of both awe and fear, wondering whether our predictions are truly reliable. Embracing uncertainty. On the other hand, there is a growing recognition of the role of uncertainty in the future. We live in a world that is constantly changing, with new challenges and opportunities emerging at an unprecedented rate. As much as we try to predict and prepare for the future, we cannot fully account for the complexities of life. The future is shaped by countless variables, some within our control, others beyond it, and the unknowns are what make it both exhilarating and daunting. Perhaps, instead of seeking to predict the future with certainty, we should focus on developing the skills and resilience to navigate uncertainty. Being ready for the future doesn't necessarily mean knowing exactly what will happen, but rather being prepared to adapt and thrive no matter what comes our way. This mindset encourages flexibility, adaptability, and an openness to new ideas. rather than being locked into rigid expectations. The role of prophecy in shaping our outlook. Prophecies, whether they are ancient predictions or modern forecasts, can influence the way we approach the future. While they can provide insight and guidance, they can also limit our ability to act freely. If we come to believe too strongly in a specific outcome, we might become passive participants in our own lives, waiting for destiny to unfold. Conversely, if we see the future as an open canvas, full of infinite possibilities, we might become more proactive in shaping our own path. The key lies in striking a balance between foresight and free will. It's important to acknowledge the role of prediction and planning, but also to recognize that the future is not a fixed destination, it's a series of possibilities, many of which are shaped by our actions today. By focusing on what we can control, our choices, our responses, and our resilience, we can better prepare for whatever the future holds. Looking ahead, as we continue to confront the challenges of an ever-evolving world, the question remains, are we ready for the future? The truth is, readiness isn't about having a precise map of what's to come, but rather about cultivating the mindset and skills needed to face the unknown. Whether the future holds opportunities or obstacles, it's our ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere that will define our success. In many ways, our reflections on prophecy, whether we view it through a scientific lens or as part of our cultural heritage, serve as a reminder of the importance of preparedness and adaptability. Prophecies may offer insights, but it is our actions, choices, and resilience that truly shape our futures. Ultimately, readiness for the future is not just about anticipating events, but about embracing change, learning from the past, and continuously evolving to meet the challenges of tomorrow. As we look toward the future, we must remember that we are not passive observers of fate, but active participants in shaping the world to come. The key to being truly ready is not in knowing what will happen, but in being ready to respond with courage, creativity, and adaptability to whatever the future brings. Climate change is one of the most urgent challenges humanity faces today. Driven by human activities like burning fossil fuels and deforestation, it leads to rising global temperatures, disrupted weather patterns, and more frequent natural disasters. The effects of these changes are already being felt worldwide, with extreme heat waves, floods, droughts, wildfires, and storms becoming more intense and widespread. Rising sea levels threaten coastal cities, while droughts and shifting rainfall patterns endanger agriculture, especially in developing countries. Climate change also contributes to economic inequality, as poorer regions with fewer resources suffer the most from its impacts, while wealthier nations can invest in adaptation strategies. Vulnerable populations are often left to deal with the immediate consequences. The science behind climate change is well documented, and climate models predict that if current trends continue, the Earth will experience irreversible damage. The global community has taken some action, such as the 2015 Paris Agreement. But progress has been slow, and many countries still rely heavily on fossil fuels. Without urgent action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, the world faces severe consequences, including mass displacement, food and water shortages, and widespread biodiversity loss. Interestingly, many ancient prophecies speak of environmental collapse, often in symbolic terms. These prophecies, whether from the Mayans or other cultures, highlight the fragility of human civilization and its relationship with nature. While modern science no longer interprets these prophecies as literal predictions, they can still serve as warnings about the need to care for our planet. These ancient messages resonate with today's scientific warnings, urging us to take responsibility for the Earth before it's too late. The challenge of addressing climate change is global, requiring collective action across all nations. Climate change does not recognize borders, and no single country can solve it alone. The Paris Agreement set ambitious targets for reducing emissions, but without full cooperation from all countries, it is difficult to achieve meaningful progress. The need for international collaboration is clear. If we don't act now, future generations will face the devastating consequences of inaction. One potential solution lies in technology and innovation. Renewable energy sources, such as wind and solar, are becoming more efficient and affordable. Electric vehicles, sustainable farming practices, and better waste management can also help reduce humanity's environmental footprint. However, technological advancements alone are not enough. We need a fundamental shift in how we think about economic growth, consumption, and environmental sustainability. This shift must also come from individuals. Personal responsibility, such as reducing waste, conserving energy, and supporting eco-friendly businesses, plays a vital role in the fight against climate change. But systemic changes at the governmental and corporate levels are equally important. Governments need to prioritize sustainability over short-term economic interests. And businesses must invest in green technologies and sustainable practices. The climate crisis is not just an environmental issue, it is an economic, social, and ethical one that affects everyone on Earth. The challenge ahead is daunting. But we are not powerless. By acting together, embracing innovation, and committing to sustainability, we can still prevent the worst effects of climate change and build a more sustainable future for all. The future is not written in stone. And our collective actions today will determine whether we succeed or fail in preserving the planet for future generations. In recent years, one of the most chilling threats to humanity's future has been the rise of bioweapons. Historically, biological agents have been used in warfare. But advancements in biotechnology have made these weapons more accessible and potentially more destructive. Unlike conventional weapons, bioweapons can silently spread and incapacitate entire populations, making them an even more terrifying prospect. In today's interconnected world, a single pathogen released in one country could quickly spread across borders, causing a global crisis. The ease of access to biotechnology and genetic engineering has made the development of bioweapons more feasible for both state and non-state actors, while international laws prohibit their use. Enforcing these regulations remains challenging. Terrorist organizations or rogue states may still manage to acquire or create such weapons, causing immense destruction and fear. The potential consequences of such attacks could be catastrophic: widespread disease outbreaks, healthcare systems overwhelmed, economies disrupted, and social order collapsing. Beyond bioweapons, the possibility of global conflict remains a constant threat. The world's major powers are continually arming themselves with advanced technologies, not just for defense but also for offense. Cyber attacks, drones, and sophisticated missiles are now part of the modern arsenal, making warfare more destructive than ever before. The geopolitical landscape is filled with tension, as countries vie for power, resources, and influence. As the global political climate becomes more polarized, the risk of conflict grows, and the consequences of war could be far more devastating than previous generations experienced. The frightening reality is that climate change is further exacerbating these threats. As the planet warms, resources such as freshwater, food, and energy become increasingly scarce. leading to intense competition between nations. Countries facing resource shortages may resort to extreme measures to secure their survival. The race for access to vital resources, combined with the pressures of environmental collapse, could drive nations toward violent conflict, with devastating consequences. These threats are not isolated, they intersect in ways that could create a perfect storm. Climate change could trigger wars over resources. And these wars might be fought with not only conventional weapons but also bioweapons. The global interconnectedness of trade and travel means that the effects of such a conflict could quickly escalate, affecting countries far beyond the battlefield. The rapid spread of disease, fuel shortages, and economic collapse could compound the chaos, creating a vicious cycle of destruction. Furthermore, the proliferation of bioweapons is not limited to state actors. Non-state actors, including terrorist organizations and criminal groups, may gain access to advanced biological agents. The risk of such actors developing and using bioweapons is particularly concerning because they operate outside the framework of international law, making it harder to track and prevent their actions. As technological advancements continue, the barriers to creating powerful biological agents are lowering. And the consequences of such weapons falling into the wrong hands are terrifying. In a world where warfare and disease are intertwined, it is easy to imagine a future where bioweapons play a central role in conflicts. The devastating effects of a biological attack are not limited to the immediate casualties, they could lead to long-term social, economic, and political instability. Healthcare systems may be overwhelmed. Governments may collapse under the pressure. And millions of lives could be lost. While these scenarios may seem apocalyptic, they are not beyond the realm of possibility. The combination of geopolitical instability, environmental collapse, and the rise of bioweapons creates a world where the threat of total destruction is always looming. However, this future is not predetermined. Through international cooperation, strict regulation of biotechnology, and diplomatic efforts to resolve conflicts peacefully, it may be possible to mitigate these risks. It is essential that global leaders recognize the gravity of these interconnected threats and work together to prevent the worst outcomes. The future remains uncertain. But by taking proactive steps today, we may be able to shape a world that avoids the darkest possibilities. As technology continues to advance, we must ensure that we are using it responsibly, with a focus on peace and cooperation rather than destruction. The potential for bioweapons and global conflict is real, but it is not inevitable. How we respond to these challenges will determine the fate of humanity in the years to come. In recent decades, discussions surrounding the resurgence of communism and the rapid technological revolution have become more prominent. These two global phenomena, seemingly distinct, may in fact be intertwined, shaping the future of societies in unexpected ways. As we witness the rise of artificial intelligence, automation, and digital systems, we must also consider the possibility of economic models like communism re-emerging as responses to the challenges of a post-capitalist, technology-driven world. Communism, once seen as a relic of the past, has made a notable comeback in political discourse. Across the globe, leftist movements and political ideologies are gaining traction as inequality grows, with many questioning the sustainability of capitalism. In countries like Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea, state-run economies are often criticized for their inefficiency. Yet the social ideals behind communism, equality, the redistribution of wealth, and the idea of a classless society, are still powerful tools for mobilizing discontented populations. The desire for a new, More equitable world is increasingly resonating with people who are disillusioned with the widening gap between the rich and the poor. On the other hand, the technological revolution is drastically reshaping industries, economies, and societies. The advent of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation is revolutionizing how we work, interact, and live. While these advancements offer enormous benefits, such as improved healthcare, communication, and productivity, they also pose significant challenges. As automation replaces many traditional jobs, it creates an economic imbalance, leaving millions without work. This, in turn, leads to greater inequality and the potential for social unrest. How societies adapt to this new technological age will be critical in determining whether we remain in a capitalist framework or move toward alternative economic models. In the context of communism, technological advancements could either serve to exacerbate the existing problems or offer solutions. For example, if managed correctly, technological advancements could help redistribute wealth and power. Imagine a world where artificial intelligence is used not to maximize profits for a few but to ensure that resources are allocated efficiently and equitably. Such a future could usher in a form of technological communism, where technology is used not to control the masses but to enable a more just and sustainable society. However, the darker side of technological progress also raises concerns. As surveillance technology becomes more advanced, governments and corporations could use it to maintain control over populations. The rise of authoritarian regimes that embrace both communism and advanced technology could create a dystopian society, where citizens are monitored at all times, and dissent is swiftly crushed. The combination of bioweapons, AI, and surveillance technologies might create a perfect storm for totalitarian regimes. Moreover, the debate between communism and capitalism will only become more complex as the world transitions into an era dominated by advanced technology. Capitalism, in its current form, may no longer be sustainable in a world where the production and distribution of goods are increasingly automated. Communism, with its focus on equality and centralized control, could find new relevance in the face of these disruptions. But whether these two forces will collide or coexist remains uncertain. Will we witness the return of a new form of communism, empowered by technology? Or will capitalism adapt and evolve to face the challenges of the 21st century? The return of communism and the rise of the technological revolution are not isolated events, they are intertwined and will influence one another in ways we are only beginning to understand. As we look toward the future, we must consider both the potential benefits and the risks posed by these shifts. If we are to create a just and sustainable future, we must carefully navigate the intersection of politics, technology, and society, ensuring that progress serves humanity as a whole rather than a select few. The coming decades will undoubtedly be defined by this complex relationship, and how we respond will shape the world for generations to come. As humanity stands on the precipice of a new era defined by technological advancements, climate change, and shifting geopolitical landscapes, the question of whether we are headed toward a world of peace or war becomes ever more pressing. The current global situation presents an array of contradictions. On one hand, advancements in communication, diplomacy, and international cooperation suggest the possibility of a more peaceful world. On the other, deepening inequalities, resource competition, and rising nationalism hint at the looming shadow of conflict. One of the primary factors influencing the potential for peace or war in the future is the rapid pace of technological progress. While innovations such as artificial intelligence, robotics, and renewable energy hold the promise of solving many of humanity's greatest challenges, They also introduce new risks. Autonomous weapons, cyber warfare, and the militarization of space are just a few examples of how technology could be used for destructive purposes. Nations around the world are increasingly investing in AI-driven military technologies, leading to an arms race that could destabilize international relations. The specter of nuclear warfare still looms large. And as tensions rise between global powers, the fear of miscalculation or accidental escalation becomes more pronounced. However, technology also holds the potential to foster peace. Advances in communication and information sharing can create opportunities for greater understanding and diplomacy. Social media, for example, allows people across the globe to connect and exchange ideas, breaking down cultural barriers and fostering empathy. Furthermore, the development of technologies that address global challenges, such as climate change mitigation, poverty alleviation, and public health, could lay the foundation for international collaboration and solidarity. In theory, the world could use technology to create a more harmonious, interconnected global community. Yet, this idealistic vision must contend with the reality that technological advancements are often exploited by powerful elites to maintain control, exacerbate inequalities, and fuel conflict. Climate change, too, plays a significant role in determining whether the future will be one of peace or war. As the planet's ecosystems continue to degrade, the effects of climate change, such as rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and resource scarcity, are expected to exacerbate existing tensions between nations. The competition for water, arable land, and energy resources could ignite conflicts, particularly in regions already struggling with poverty and instability. Additionally, climate-induced migration could strain international borders, creating further friction between nations that are ill-prepared for the influx of refugees. The potential for climate change to exacerbate social and political unrest is undeniable, and its effects will likely be felt most acutely by the world's most vulnerable populations. At the same time, the growing divide between rich and poor nations could further inflame tensions. As wealth becomes increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few, the potential for social unrest and conflict rises. Economic inequality, both within countries and between them, is a powerful driver of instability. While the global elite may benefit from technological advancements and economic growth, the majority of the population may find themselves left behind, creating fertile ground for political extremism and radicalization. In this scenario, the world could become a battleground for control over scarce resources, both in terms of material wealth and access to power. Nationalism, too, is making a resurgence in many parts of the world, contributing to an increasingly fragmented global order. Rising populism and protectionism are fostering a climate of distrust and hostility between nations. Trade wars, border disputes, and ideological divides are undermining international cooperation and making it harder for countries to address global challenges collectively. The rise of authoritarian leaders, often characterized by their rejection of global cooperation and commitment to military expansion, poses a serious threat to peace. As nations turn inward and prioritize their own interests over those of the global community, the potential for conflict increases. Yet, despite these challenges, there are also reasons for hope. International organizations such as the United Nations, as imperfect as they may be, continue to work toward conflict resolution, humanitarian aid, and environmental protection. Grassroots movements advocating for peace, justice, and human rights are gaining momentum worldwide. And the power of civil society to challenge governments and corporate interests has never been greater. The potential for diplomacy, dialogue, and cooperation remains strong. Especially as the interconnectedness of the global economy and the shared challenges of climate change and public health continue to bind nations together. Ultimately, whether the future is one of peace or war depends on how humanity chooses to navigate the complex challenges of the 21st century. Will nations come together to address the existential threats facing our planet? Or will they descend further into isolationism and conflict? Will technological advancements be used to build a better, more equitable world? Or will they be harnessed to fuel division and destruction? The answers to these questions will shape the course of history and determine the future of humanity. The choice is ours. And it is a choice that demands urgent action. As we look ahead, we must confront the difficult realities of our time with courage, compassion, and a commitment to building a world that prioritizes peace, sustainability, and justice for all.